What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. Today, we've got our NFL player projections for week number 3. I am your host, Chris Raybon. And on this show, we're going to run through our top 5 at every position, discuss players we're high and low on, and we'll throw out some player props for each position here to break it down with me. One of the top fantasy rankers and projectors in the game, the odds maker, Sean Kerner. Sean, what is good?
What's up? Had a really good week 2. Won about 8 units overall,
Nice.
but had a really good week. Definitely unfortunate to see the Nick Chubb injury. That was such a bummer last night. But yeah, how are you doing?
Doing good. Had a good week too. Shout out to my boy Tank Dell that got tripled up the prop I bet on him. Yeah, it was interesting week 2. So a lot to talk about. Some interesting usage trends and whatnot. But yeah, hopefully Chubb is good. A lot of injuries.
Rough week.
Yeah.
That department.
But let's start with quarterback. Who are your top 5 quarterbacks for week number 3?
So right now I have Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Herbert.
Yep, same top 5 for me. So
okay.
Let's go right into who are you high on this
week? There we go. Geno Smith. He's at home against the Panthers, and he's my QB8. For some reason, ECR is all the way down at QB 14 right now, which is kind of weird. Geno did have a nice bounce back game last week against the Lions. Threw for 328 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jackson Smith and Jigba is only going to get better as the season goes on. So I think Geno's value will only continue to sneak up, as long as all 3 receivers are healthy. So I'm continuing to invest in Geno Smith. And the Panthers defense are going to be without top cornerback J.C. Horn for a few games. Shaq Thompson's also out, I believe. So it's an easier matchup on paper. And yeah, I'm going back to the well Geno Smith this week.
That's interesting. I actually do have him at 14. Looking at why, I think it's because the Panthers played pretty good pass D on for 2 weeks in a row now. But they have Carter down, so that it might be pulling in that. But yeah, I have him at 14 for now. But I think that people kind of overreacted to the tackles being out. Like, these weren't like all pro tackles. They were great second year tackles for Seattle, but they were replaceable. And I thought they had a really good game plan against Detroit, so I may move him up. But he's my 14 for now. I am high on a couple of guys. Kirk Cousins is my QB 6. He's QB 9 in ECR. And listen, man, this Charger D, I don't know what's going on with it. On paper, they have talent, but this defense just gets blasted every single week, somehow, some way. So, I know Brandon Staley's seat is getting hot, but Kirk Cousins has been balling. And now that he has Jordan Addison to kind of win against man coverage, I think that this Vikings team is going to continue to rely on the pass. Madison looked horrible in that Thursday night game. So, yeah. I mean, and obviously went through some things after too, which was uncalled for. But I think this Viking offense is kind of built to throw the ball still, and they haven't really been able to run it, even with some of those bigger formations. But it's been working. Cousins has 6 touchdowns this year already, leads the league. He's completing 73% of his passes, averaging over 350 yards a game. So now you're facing the Chargers. Yes, sign me up all day. And Russell Wilson, I actually have him as a low-end streamer, like a QB 11 right now. He's QB 19 in ECR. And my thing is, going against Miami, I think Miami's going to be able to score some points and put some pressure on this Denver offense. But also, you saw Marvin Mims start to get involved. Now you got Judy. He played every snap, but he really didn't seem fully healthy. So now he'll have a week back. And I think with all these receivers, Johnson made some plays. Who else was there? Humphrey, made a play or two. So I think the receiving game is decent, and he was thrown downfield a little more. So I think he should be in that streamer consideration, and what could be a shootout this week.
Yeah, where'd you have him ranked again?
I have 11 right now.
Oh, 11. Oh, shit.
Yeah, so I have him above. That's one of the guys I have above.
Yeah, I have him QB 17. If Anthony Richardson's out, he'll move up to QB 16, but haven't had as much time to, sharpen my projections. But yeah, I was encouraged to see Marvin Mims finally get involved. And like you said, Judy's back. I am a bit concerned with Greg Dulcich out. I mean, they got zero production from the tight end position. Troutman didn't have a single catch. But either way, if they're throwing it to Mims deep and Judy's closer to 100% next week, I could definitely make the case for Wilson being more of a high end QB2 this week for sure.
Who you low on?
I'm low on Justin Fields at Kansas City. He's all the way down to my quarterback 10. So, I'm sure anybody that drafted him, I have him in some leagues, was not expecting him to be like a fringe QB 1-2 on any week, really. But he's had a rough start and is the QB 16 on the season through 2 weeks. He only rushed 4 times for 3 yards last week. That's really the red flag for me. I'm sure he's going to bounce back and, probably more of a low end QB1 going forward, but he's just going to have to get better. The Chiefs defense got a huge boost, re-signing Chris Jones, bringing him back. So this is going to be a tough spot where he's going to have to drop back and pass a little bit more. I don't know if he's a top 5 option right now. So he's moving down my ranks quite a bit.
Yeah, he's still holding the ball, and it's Tuesday. He's still holding the ball in the pocket, looking at 3 open receivers. I don't even know, like, what is it? Is it Getsy and Eberflus who are just like trying to? Because like the one thing is they're not designing runs for him, and he seems not to want to scramble. Like, so is it? Are they trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, or do they kind of know this guy can't really like they're just trying to make him play like a real quarterback because he's so bad. Like, I don't know what is going on. I know he's been missing open receivers, but I also know he looks completely different. Like, he looks like he's scared to run because he was told not to or something. So I don't know.
Which is the biggest concern for fantasy. But it goes both ways. He just looks like he takes way too much time in his drop back. So he kind of invites pressure when he does that. And then he just makes it tougher on himself. When he should be tapping into his rushing upside. He's not really a pocket passer. So I'm sure they'll figure it out. But right now, it might take a few games to get there. But definitely a very concerning start for Justin Fields.
Yeah. And the Chiefs defense looks good. I mean, they held that Lions offense to 20 points, and then they held that Jacksonville offense to 9. So at this rate, they're going to shut out the Bears.
Yeah, no kidding.
Fields is my QB 13, so I'm right with you.
Ouch.
Without the rushing. I mean, rushing is pretty sticky, so like you have to kind of pay attention to the fact that his running numbers are way down. That's now we're 2 games in. At some point, you're right. They have to just say to hell with it, but until they do, fringe QB1. For me, it's Derek Carr. He's the QB 20 in ECR. He's my QB 27. Again, he's losing. He'll always lose like a snap or two to Taysom Hill. And I just, looking at him yesterday, he struggled again on Monday night. I felt like he should have had better numbers than he did. So, it's kind of hit or miss with him. He's just kind of like another Andy Dalton to me. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's going to be fine for the Saints. They have a good defense, but fantasy wise, not really seeing it for him. So I wouldn't try to start him in a QB2 league, even if I could. I would try to find a streamer this week. I think it's going to be a pretty low scoring game between them and the Packers. So, and he's on the road. Okay. What you got for the prop?
Did we split last week?
Yep,
I think we both went
1-1.
Okay,
Yep.
All right. We had some good lines. You're like,
Schultz was right.
Oh yeah, the Schultz is over by a half yard or something.
Yeah.
Oh damn. Okay. I have a very ugly one, but I think it's critical setting these Bengals projections right now. So, assuming Joe Burrow's out, what are you projecting for Jake Browning's passing yards? And I'm gonna give you 214.5. That's my line.
Let's see. What do I have? I have him at 213, so I'll go under. It's been tough for them to throw the ball even with Burrow, so I'm not gonna, unless there's like they just get way behind. I'm not gonna project him for a huge number because I don't know what's going on down the field with them. It just seems like Burrow almost reminded me a little of like Russell Wilson at times, where it's just like he just wouldn't throw to certain parts of the field anymore. I don't know, but so I don't think it's anything to do with the receivers, but this Ram team, they're going to play a lot of zone, but I think the Bengals will probably try to run a little more and keep the game close. So yeah, I have to go under. But
Yeah.
it's going to come down to game script.
Yeah, for sure. And that really lowers like T. Higgins' projection for me. We'll get to that later. And Browning, he's more of a running quarterback, so it wouldn't shock me if he scrambles quite a bit. Again, even lowering the passing output even more. So yeah, this is rough blow for the Bengals receivers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jamar Chase is out of my top 5 if I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Out of the top 5, like maybe outside of the top 10. It's close.
More memories are made when you're there for live NFL action, and when you need tickets, our friends at Ticketmaster have got you covered. As the official marketplace of the NFL, Ticketmaster gives you more ways to find your perfect seat. Their interactive seat map gives you 360-degree previews of your section to make sure you have the best view of those pivotal plays. And if your plans change, Ticketmaster gives you more flexibility to sell or transfer your tickets. Plus, mobile tickets make getting in on game day a breeze. And you can even customize your Ticketmaster app to rep your favorite team's colors. Find tickets today at Ticketmaster.com/NFL. All right, running back. Who you got in your top 5?
So I have Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard, Bijan Robinson, Derrick Henry, and Austin Eckler in there for now. But yeah, it was a rough week 2 for the top 5 because obviously Eckler missed. And then we had the injuries to both Barkley and Chubb. It seems like Barkley might try to play Thursday, but I'm assuming with the short week, they're going to hold him out. So I'm not projecting him yet.
Yeah, I think that's his gamesmanship.
Oh, okay.
I mean, why would you play him on a short week?
Against the Niners at
San
Francisco.
Doesn't add up. I got McCaffrey, Pollard, Bijan Robinson, Kyron Williams, number 4.
Woo!
And Josh Jacobs, number 5.
Nice.
Who you hiring?
Well, let's go with my boy Kyron Williams. He's my running back 9, so you're much higher on him than me. And again, 9 months ago, I was high on him when I thought the Rams were supposed to be trading Cam Akers. So here we go again, but I think Kyron Williams is here to stay, and McVay's actually leaning on him now, finally. Kyron played 95% of their snaps last week. He also saw a 19% target rate, which is something I've been keeping an eye on because Stafford typically has him in targeting his running backs the past couple years. And I just think it's because he hasn't had a good pass-catching back. And I considered Kyron maybe the second best pass-catching back from last year's class. So that was really good to see. He had the 6 receptions. Along with just having every snap on early downs, every snap on the goal line. So he's like a true workhorse back. And the Rams offense is just clicking right now without Cooper Kupp. So it's probably going to be even better once he returns. So as of now, yeah, I think Kyron Williams is an RB1. And we'll see what happens with Cam Akers. Like if they trade him away, are they going to bring anybody in? But if this keeps up, Kyron Williams is absolutely an RB1.
Yeah, I think Sean McVay, he just plays his guys, right? So
yeah.
It's like, okay, Puka's balling. He's going to play. Tutu's playing. Williams is playing. Like, I just think I saw a quote from him saying, like, we needed to get back to, like, stop being reactionary on offense and just get back to like, what we wanted to do. And it just seems like he's doing that. It's like he's got the young guys out there. Because even a guy like, Van Jefferson, who you would think would be ahead of Tutu and Puka, he's losing snaps too. It's just like whoever's playing well, McVay, I don't think he has any problem playing them, even though they're young. So yeah, I think Kyron, he's the next Todd Gurley. Like, right? Like, I mean, not
too excited over here.
I mean, shit. I mean, that's what it
and
feels like.
And a new Cooper Kupp,
right? Hell, yeah, exactly.
And yeah, like I think I remember McVay. This might have been a couple years ago. He was saying like he just likes having a workhorse back. It makes it easier for him to game plan. I think. At the time, it was a dig against Darrell Henderson, if I remember right. Mm-hmm. But he has said in the past, like, he likes just having a workhorse back. He doesn't want all these, like, different role players. So, I think McVay does want, a guy like Kyron just to dominate the snaps.
Yeah, because I think part of it is, that offensive line was shaky last year. I think this year, you want to be able to go with some tempo and have a back on the field that can play run and pass. And I think Akers just couldn't do that. Like they just really didn't like to play him in a pass game. So now if you're trying to hurry up and you want to throw the ball, like Akers is kind of like a non-entity. So I think that's why Kyron gets to play every down. But yeah, I love Kyron this week too. Who else you got?
Oh, I also love, Zach Moss right now.
Yep.
At Baltimore, he's my RB24. He played all but one snap, and the snap he didn't play, there was no running backs on the field. So neither backup Deion Jackson or Jake Funk played a single snap. So as of now, Moss is, low end RB2. He's getting the volume, and in fantasy, volume is king. And he had a decent game. He rushed for 88 yards and a touchdown. Also caught 4 balls. So it's still unclear what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor once he's eligible to return in week 5. So I'm not sure if Moss has like long-term value. But as of now, at least for like week 3 and week 4, Zach Moss is getting like every touch and should be like a low-end RB2.
Yeah, he's my RB10. Do you have him RB24?
What the hell?
I mean, what am I supposed to do? He's not coming off the field. Last week I actually had him. Yeah. I was like a lot higher on him because I figured I was like Deion Jackson played so bad that he's probably gonna come and be the feature back. But like now, I have like 2 carries for Jackson and like 1 for Funk.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I think. Yeah, just maybe the matchup. And again, remember the famous quote by Abe Lincoln, don't judge anybody by their fantasy projections on Tuesday morning. So I'll probably be closer to your RB10 if I'm being honest. But I noticed ECR was really low on him. Again, I'm not judging because everybody's probably just rolling over last week's projections. But yeah, I just think it's weird to say it, but Zach Moss is a legit RB2, maybe a high-end one. And we've never really been able to say that before.
Yeah. I mean, when you come off an injury – and you were out like for a month, and then you immediately play every snap. Like this is Kyron Williams all over again. It's like not in the same coming off an injury, but it's like the sign is there, like that they're not feeling these other backs. And
their other guy was horrible in week 1.
Yeah, so. And Hull got hurt. Hull looked good, but he got hurt. So I think that's another reason. Like they would have probably gone like Moss and mixed in some Hull, but he's on IR. So I think snaps are key for running backs. But I totally agree on Moss. I'm going Jerome Ford, another one that probably ECR just hasn't caught up to. He's RB25, but I have him RB13. And another guy who I expect to be a feature back with Nick Chubb out, and who looked really good. I mean that reverse field run where he went 69-yard run, I think it was.
Nice.
Last night, loved it. Now, Tennessee is a tougher matchup for running backs. It's the only reason I don't have him in the top 10. But I do expect him to handle about 75% of this backfield, and that's still going to be valuable. Cleveland is still probably going to be a run-heavy team going forward. So Jerome Ford for me. And he's averaging over 4 yards after contact for his career. So that's always something you like to see because Cleveland, they can run block. Again, tougher matchup, but like Ford this week.
Yeah, I saw somebody complaining about his his upcoming schedule for the next few games. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like he's gonna be seeing a ton of touches. I'm not too worried about Pierce Strong or Hassan Hall behind him. He could command like a similar role as Nick Chubb in the meantime. I think they might call in Kareem Hunt or maybe trade for Cam Akers. So maybe long term, Jerome Ford might not be an RB2, but at least for this week, he's absolutely like a high end RB2.
I mean, and also Jerome Ford is better than Cam Akers, I think, and better than Kareem Hunt. So,
right.
I mean, even if those guys come on, it might just still be for like a backup role. So, who you low on?
So I'm low on Breece Hall against the Patriots. He's my RB37. I think ECR is still pretty high on him. He came crashing down to earth last week. He only ran the ball 4 times for 9 yards. Didn't see a catch, but the most concerning development for both Hall and Dalvin Cook was Michael Carter took over as the pass catching back. So Michael Carter took most of the third down work and all of the 2-minute offense. So that's just really bad news for Hall and Cook, who are now essentially splitting early down work on a Zach Wilson led offense. So that's just not going to be good for fantasy in the meantime. Obviously, Breece Hall's talented enough to maybe break off a big run or two, but as of now, like he has to be treated as more of like a low end RB3 flex, unless that was just a blip on the radar with Michael Carter's usage. So very low on Breece Hall this week. And I'm also low on Khalil Herbert, which I hate to say because I do love the talent. And I have conflicting thoughts on Herbert based on last week because, Deontay Foreman was a healthy scratch, which did make this more of a 2-way committee. I mean, it was pretty much a split between Herbert and Roschon Johnson. However, the Bears offense, like we mentioned with Justin Fields, just couldn't get anything going. So it's going to be tough to trust either back until this offense gets back on track. And since this is going to probably be a trailing pass-heavy game script, I do lean towards Roschon this week because he has been more involved in the passing game. So Khalil Herbert's out of my RB3 flex range. But going forward, he might, move up, because if this is a two-way backfield, both of these backs might be able to provide some value going forward.
Yeah, Chicago's just a mess right now. The play calling is bad. They're gonna be, they're not getting leads. They're not gonna be converting on third downs. Everything's just bad. So yeah, it's tough to trust anybody in that offense. For me, it's Jerick McKinnon, who I'm low on. He's the RB 41. This guy just hasn't been getting touches this year. He got 1 touch in the first game, and then he got 4 touches in week 2. So now you're playing a team where you're a double-digit favorite against the Bears. So this is not a McKinnon game script. So I wouldn't even touch him as a flex, even in a deeper league, if I could help it. He's my RB 50, about 10 spots lower than ECR.
Yeah, no, that's not the ideal game script for him. And if you don't like any rushing yards and 3 catches for 20 yards, by all means, play Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, I got his. I think it's under 700.5 or something like that, or for his total yardage this season. So that's looking good.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Far. But okay, for the prop, we got to go to Breece Hall here because this is ridiculously tough. And the line isn't run blocking very well either. I mean, Breece Hall, that big run he had, he had more yards after contact than I think he had total in that first game. So just not much before contact. 36.5 rushing yards for Breece. Where you going?
Oh, damn it. I have 35. Again, I'll lean under here. That's a good line, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can really project them from more than 9 carries right now. It's tough.
Nope. How many receptions do you have him for? That's the concern, in my opinion. Like, I can't give more than 1.5.
Let's see. Yeah, I have him just over 1 catch. His usage went way down in the pass game. I don't know if that was part of it. I know they were getting blown out, but if he's going to come off the field on pass downs, and you're relying on like design screens and things like that.
He's the ultimate bet on talent RB3 flex play I've ever seen in my entire life, because the usage isn't there, but the talent is.
Yeah, I mean it's been up and down. I mean, he saved his line in week 1 with that big run.
Yeah.
But you saw the red flags because outside of that run, the whole run game really got nothing. So he definitely has proven he can break these big plays, but when they're not there,
and he got gassed on that run. That should have been a touchdown, but he got gassed. It was like that Dobbins run last year where you knew he wasn't 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, that happened a few times. I think it happened to Ford. It happened to Mike Evans, I think. Like, a lot of guys have been getting caught from behind this year. But, all right, so you're going under. All right. Wide receiver, who you got? Top 5.
So I have Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keenan Allen, baby, number 4. And then Stephon Diggs, just my placeholder at wide receiver 5 every week.
Yep, I got Jefferson Hill, Keenan Allen 3rd. CeeDee Lamb 4, and Diggs 5. So,
nice.
Amon-Ra, I know he was just cramping a little bit. I don't know where he is.
His toe was cramping, which isn't good. Like it could be like a turf toe situation.
Yeah.
Definitely something to monitor. So I'm not factoring that in yet. That's why he's my wide receiver 3. But are you downgrading him a bit because of that?
Yeah, just for now, just knocking.
Yeah.
Like, his first game he played every snap. The second game he only played about just over 70%. So kind of taking the average of those, having like high 80s in terms of snaps this week.
Gotcha.
Until we know more. So yeah, he's a little further down. I think he's like wide receiver 8 for me. Who you high on?
I'm high on Tutu Atwell. He's my wide receiver 28. And Puka Nacua is getting all the love, and rightfully so. I mean, what an incredible start. Like I said, he's essentially Cooper Kupp plus right now. So I don't have no reason to fade him really, but I just think Tutu's been under the radar because he's been solid too. He ran 98% of the routes last week. He's seen a 23% target rate this season with an 8 out of 14.6. So he's getting those valuable downfield targets. And just have to imagine defense will start putting extra resources and trying to slow down Puka, which could free up Tutu even more. So of course, this is all coming at the expense of Tyler Higbee. But as of now, like I think, Puka Nacua is obviously a must start, but I think Tutu could be like a high-end wide receiver 3 right now. I think we can trust him at this point. And the other guy I'm high on is a former Ram and Josh Reynolds. he's my wide receiver 37 right now. And last week I noticed I was like 20 plus spots higher than him than ECR, but it seems, he's the clear number 2 receiver for the Lions right now. He's, averaging an 80% routes run rate. He's seen a 20% target rate in both weeks now. He's had 2 big games now. And like we just mentioned, Amon-Ra could be dealing with the toe injury. If he's ruled out or limited in any way, Josh Reynolds' projection is going to go up even more. So I think as of now, you could treat Josh Reynolds as a low-end wide receiver 3. And even when Jamison Williams comes back, I don't think he's just going to get demoted. Like, he could be what everybody had this imaginary Jamison Williams role being. It's Josh Reynolds. So I like him short term, obviously, and even long term. Like, I don't think Jamison Williams is going to command the number 2 role when he comes back. I think Josh Reynolds is playing well enough. He can keep this job.
Yeah, Williams' best case scenario at this point is the number 3, and that is pushing it based on what we've seen out of him so far.
Right.
Because Jones hasn't done anything, so he could jump him. But Raymond, I don't know if Jameson's better than Khalif Raymond. For what they give the team in terms of the speed So jumping Marvin Jones would be his best shot, and that would be the third,
which isn't saying much at this point.
No. Yeah. And I agree. I got Tutu. He's in early projections. Tutu is my wide receiver 19, so I'm even higher than you. I totally agree on Reynolds as well. I think people just aren't really noticing that he's that one of those top receivers for the Lions, and he's kind of separated from all those other guys, Marvin and Raymond and whatnot. For me, I'm high on Puka Nacua. First of all, he's still the wide receiver 14 in ECR. I have him wide receiver 9, and there's a case he should be wide receiver like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But this guy is just, and this is it's not just about it is about Puka, but it's also about this offense and Sean McVay and Stafford, because we saw Cooper Kupp go from like a very good receiver to a guy that was like leading the league in catches every year, and now Puka, first week 10 catches on 15 targets, second week 15 catches on 20 targets. That's Cooper Kupp numbers. They're using them just like Cooper Kupp. So we would have Cooper Kupp ranked like 1 or 2 every week. So I think Puka deserves to be in the top 10 already, and potentially even higher than that. And I also am high on Zay Flowers. He's my wide receiver 18. He's a wide receiver 30 in ECR. Really like what I've seen out of Zay Flowers, who he was always the guy for me. I thought, rookie wise, and I'm mad I wasn't Nacua, but I did like Flowers as a guy who I thought could produce right away. He's playing 90% of the snaps. He's been targeted on 24% of his routes, and he's getting a carry or 2 each game. So I really like Zay Flowers. And Odell Beckham got banged up, so we'll see. He could be hurt, but also this Baltimore team, they're playing a little more wide open and spread on offense. So I know Mark Andrews is back, but I don't think that's really going to affect Flowers. And he's clearly ahead of Bateman and Aguilar and all these other guys as well. So I really like Flowers. I think he's going to continue to show out.
Yeah, Puka, I don't have him that high, but he's going to be my player prop, so we'll dive in on that later. But just projecting him right now is fascinating, because it's like you almost can't set his projection high enough. But there is a limit, and we'll try to get that in our player prop segment.
All right, who are you low on?
So I'm low on T. Higgins. He's my wide receiver 32 right now. That's where I feel comfortable putting him if Burrow's out. But the entire Bengals offense takes a massive hit if Burrow is out, and Jake Browning's under center. I think Higgins probably takes the biggest hit. And maybe in like the wide receiver 3 sit-start discussion, like I think a lot of people are going to be asking, should I play him this week? But he has a high ADOT, it's 14.1 this year. So I would imagine the Bengals don't want, Browning pushing the ball downfield. They're probably going to figure out ways to get the ball in Jamar Chase's hands, probably. And then, I'm guessing probably target Tyler Boyd, Irv Smith underneath a little bit more than Higgins. So I'm very concerned about Higgins' value this week. Again, he's my wide receiver 32. And Terry McLaurin, he's my wide receiver 33. Bounced back with a pretty solid week 2. He caught 5 passes for 54 yards and a tutty, but that all came in Sam Hill's career best game, throwing for nearly 300 yards. We probably can't bank on this offense, throwing for more than 250 yards most weeks. So when you look at McLaurin's underlying usage, it wasn't great. He's still under an 80% routes run rate, so have to wonder he's not 100% from the toe injury yet. And he only has a 17% target rate on this season. So I think you could still argue Jahan Dotson might be the more valuable receiver going forward. It's too early to say, but I don't think, Terry McLaurin is just the alpha in this offense as he used to be. So I'm a little bit lower on him. I still think he's like a low end wide receiver 3, but temper expectations based on last week's game.
Yeah, I have both of them. Outside, like not even wide receiver 3s. Buffalo has been excellent against wide receivers, the third fewest yards through 2 weeks. So Dotson is also a guy I'm low on. Like both him and McLaurin, I have outside that wide receiver 3 range.
Right.
I would prefer even in 12 teamers to go elsewhere, and in what's a tough matchup, and still don't think we know enough about Howell to kind of confidently project that he's going to throw for a ton of yards each and every week. So yeah, tough matchup this week, but I agree with McLaurin too. And Dotson is, playing more snaps than McLaurin. So
yep.
But McLaurin did have a nasty touchdown catch. So
he's a phenomenal receiver.
Yeah.
Don't get me twisted. Yeah. But they're both legit.
Okay. Well, so hit me with the prop.
Okay, so we're going to do Puka Nakua's total receptions. This is like impossible for me to set. I think 5.5 would be too low at this point. And I think 6.5 might be fair, but that's insane. So I'm going to just set it at 6 on the dot.
Over. I mean, he's got 15 and 10. I mean,
I know.
It's over. I don't. You could have probably gone into you could have. It would have probably been 10.5 before I even thought about going out.
That's fair enough. I mean, What do you think his prop will be? Like 6.5 then? Maybe 6.5 under -130, something like that.
Yes, potentially up to 7.5. I mean, it's tough.
Defenses have to start scheming up to slow him down, though. No.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just really, when they against zone defenses, that it's like you can only scheme so much. Now, if you want to go man coverage, then that could change some things. But the NFL plays majority zone, right? And that's why Cooper Kupp every week, you knew he was getting the ball, just couldn't slow him down. So I think Puka's going to kind of be the same. His ADOT is it's under 10 yards, I believe. It's like 9.3. So he's getting, those high percentage looks. Like Tutu, he's probably a little more volatile week to week just because he's going a little more downfield with it. But yeah, I mean, Puka's Cooper Kupp until proven otherwise at this point.
Yeah.
It's a mix of talent and being in this offense and Kupp being out. It'll be interesting when Kupp gets back. That's
going to be interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
And does Tyler Higbee have any hope right now?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of is what he is. He'll catch, probably 3 to 5 balls most weeks. Will he get in the end zone? That's what will determine his value. Tight end, who are your top 5?
Seems pretty normal this week finally, but I have Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, Mark Andrews, Evan Ingram, and Dallas Goedert.
Word, I have Kelce, Andrews, Hawkinson, Waller, Kittle. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Those guys right there, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think Waller, with Saquon out and going against like a zone D. I mean, the only thing is they have good linebackers and safeties, but I mean, somebody's got to catch the ball for the Giants. But who are you high on?
Believe it or not, I'm high on Dalton Schultz. He's my tight end 13. But, he bounced back with a solid week 2, caught 4 passes for 34 yards. He saw his routes run rate fall a bit. It's down to 70%, but we'll take a tight end, averaging around 80% routes run rate. But more importantly, he saw his target rate jump up to 18%, which is what I had projected for him going into the season. But the Texans offense itself looks to be just more pass heavy and fast paced than I think we anticipated. So, CJ Stroud almost threw for 400 yards. I don't know if we could bank on that most weeks or again the rest of the season, but either way, I think we do need to bump up the passing offense in general, and Schultz could benefit from that. So again, he's not like a sexy play by all means, but I think he's back up to that high-end tight end 2 status now.
Yeah, I still have him a little lower. I have him tight end 19, so I'm probably more in line. I do have him for 34 yards, the exact amount he had last week. But yeah, I'm higher on like the receivers seem to be getting some love. Like Robert Woods even is, playing a little better than expected. Tank Dell, love to see it. and Nico's balling out too. So
yeah, Nico's doing good too. But yeah, I have 0.3 points separating my tight end 12 to my tight end 20. It just kind of defines the state of the tight end too right now.
Yeah, it's tough. It really is tough. I am high on Sam Laporta. He's my tight end 6. He's tight end 9 in ECR.
Love it.
And really, it comes down to snaps. He's been playing just over 80% of the snaps, and that's for a tight end. That's excellent. And he's caught 5 balls in each of the first 2 games. 63 yards last game, 39 yards in week 1. So he's averaging 5 catches for just over 50 yards. He hasn't gotten to the end zone yet. I think that'll be coming soon. So there's not many tight ends I see that are more reliable than Laporta, just based on his usage. And another guy who kind of is flying under the radar, Zach Ertz, is kind of just back to being Zach Ertz. I know he's coming off the injury, but they've been using him over 80% of the pass snaps as well, 83% through 2 weeks. So he's my tight end number 10. He's the tight end 18 in ECR, and this is a game where you do expect Arizona to get down against the Cowboys and have to throw it. And you know how tough it is to throw on the outside against the Cowboys with Gilmore and Diggs and those guys. So I think Ertz could have another high volume week.
Yeah, no, that's been pretty crazy to see because, they spent that 2nd-round pick on Trey McBride last year. And my comp for McBride was like a lesser version of Dallas Goedert. He does have a ton of upside. So it's been kind of weird that they're just rolling Zach Ertz out there as like the lead tight end. But yeah, I noticed that too. Like he's definitely in play as like a high-end tight end too right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'd start him. I think he's a top 10 tight end. Like, because I see, there's like these like Fryer Moose and Njokus, and like these guys are in offenses that just are like, whereas like Ertz is in a terrible offense, but like he's the number 1 guy in this offense.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like,
number 2 at worst.
I mean, technically Brown should be the number 1, but just because of the way volume works, Brown is doing a little more down the field. Ertz if he stays healthy, I would say Ertz leads them in catches. Right? Maybe not yards, but definitely catches.
Right.
Who you low on?
Oh boy, man, I am low on Gerald Everett. Let me tell you,
he looked good too, but
he's talented. Don't get me wrong, but
not playing.
You kind of need to be on the field to get projected receptions in my model. So that's not good because last season he benefited a ton from just Keenan Allen and Mike Williams missing a ton of time, but also Donald Parham was out for I think like 10 plus games. So Parham has been eating into his role so far. And this week it was more of a 3-way committee. Stone Smart was mixing in more. So Everett only had a 34% routes run rate. I don't know if that was injury related. That would make sense if it was, but I haven't seen anything. So that is very, very bad news for Gerald Everett. There's no way he could provide tight end 2 numbers with that kind of usage. So we'll see. I think it could bounce back to 50, 60% this week. But either way, you just cannot trust him right now. There's way better options. Again, if Zach Ertz is available and you're hanging on to Gerald Everett, drop him immediately. But yeah, like way down on Gerald Everett this week.
It's, Parham and him, it's a 3% difference in terms of the routes per drop back, 44 to 41% through 2 weeks. Not great. For me, it's Jake Ferguson. He's still the tight end 15 in ECR. And, we had high hopes for him. Thought he was going to take over that Schultz role, but the Cowboys just don't seem to be involving the tight end too much in their offense. Through 2 weeks, Ferguson has run around on 50% of the dropbacks. Hendershot 33% and Schoonmaker 9%. So, at 50% routes run rate, he's my tight end 31 here. It's just, this is the CeeDee Lamb show. And, if he couldn't really do anything with Cooks out last week, and Cooks could still be out, but, it's kind of clear the Cowboys, what they're going to do. They're going to get like their guys Turpin and Tolbert and those guys involved. I think if Cooks is missing, that's what it seems like at least. So yeah, Ferguson way down for me.
Yeah, that's a good call, and he bailed people out with that touchdown. But also on the other side, like Schoonmaker scored a touchdown too. He's starting to see more playing time. I'd be worried about him potentially just seeing more playing time going forward because he is a rookie and he missed a ton of camp with that foot injury. So this could turn into an ugly three-way committee real fast.
All right, tight end. Let's go with let's go with Sam Laporta, because I think that's an interesting one. For him being, is he going to be a fringe tight end one, or is he going to be a must start? I think there's going to be a debate. I have him as a must start, so I'm going to put his receiving yardage over under at 39.5, a half a yard higher than his season low.
I wrote down 38.5 for proof right there.
Nice.
I do not want to be betting against Sam Laporta at any point. So, I'm going to have to go over here.
Okay. I should have rated higher. I was wondering.
You have to know who you're talking to here.
Yeah,
and I think that I would have said Kincaid would probably still outproduce him in fantasy this year. But at this point, it's Sam Laporta is the top rookie tight end in fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, Kincaid's, splitting work with Dawson Knox, and Laporta has just, the usage is good. He's looked great. I knew he was going to be good, but they drafted him to catch passes. He's not blocking.
Yes.
That's not his thing. So, he's looked solid. I want to continue investing in him. Great line, by the way, but I'll take the over.
All right. So we got. At least I got you to take an over. Always.
Yeah.
But not the guy.
that might be. That might
you
be
to take the
prop.
over on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. What is he? He's had 8 pass blocking snaps through 2 weeks. 5 in week 1, 3 last week. So, and he's actually graded out very highly as a pass blocker.
Oh wow. That's interesting.
Run blocking, he's been solid. But he's had 46 run blocking snaps. So he's just an every down tight end at this point. It's not. Yeah. He's just doing it all. So like it. And this is that time of year where I think, some of the consensus is going to be down or on the rookies, just kind of easing them into the rankings. Mm-hmm. So I like, this week, I would say, if you have a rookie that's been playing well, or if they're available, don't hesitate to start Flowers, Puka, Laporta, guys like that, because, this is 2-3 weeks. It'll be normal. Yep. But right now, I think a lot of people are kind of still easing them in. All right, that is going to do it for our Week 3 NFL Player Projections episode of the Action Network podcast, presented by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. For more great fantasy content from Sean and I, be sure to check out our full fantasy preview episode out right now over on the Fantasy Flex podcast channel. That's where we dive into the Thursday night football slate and the main DFS slate and build some lineups. And if you're into betting, be sure to check out my weekly betting preview episode every Thursday with Stuckey right here on the Action Network pod. Also, be sure to check out our content on the Favorites podcast. A contest on the Favorites podcast, and hit up actionnetwork.com for all of our NFL betting and fantasy content, fantasylabs.com for our DFS tools and models. Sean is on X at @_oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon, and we're at those same handles on the award-winning free Action Network app. Until next time, let's get this shmoney.